Yo, how we doing today, guys? And welcome to my top 50 albums of 2025. Now, just a preface, for me personally, in terms of albums that released in 2025, definitely a lighter listening year for me. Normally I rack up at least 100 new albums per year. Been doing so probably since 2020. But I think I got about 65, maybe 67, um, on this year so far. So I did try to avoid listening to albums that I knew were going to be bad, like the Drake album, for example. But every album in this top 50 list is good. I think 2025 overall was a very good year for hip hop in general, and I'm very, very happy. I feel lucky as a hip hop listener to have received some of the projects we have this year. Before we get into the video, just want to remind everyone to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your album of the year in the comments. Please share. Smash the hell out of that like button. I really appreciate it. Follow me on the gram at talking.hiphop. Follow me on TikTok. And also tap into the Echo and the Letterboxd. Both will be linked in my, what's that shit called? The description. So, yeah. But most importantly, thank you so much for joining me here today. And let's look forward to 2026, because 2025, on a global socioeconomic political scale was fucking terrible. And let's look for a better 2026, although on a personal level, I rocked at this 2025. Graduated college, moved into an apartment with my smoking hot girlfriend, and got a full-time job. So I'm happy right now. But enough about me. Let's move to number 50. That is going to be What Happened to the Streets by 21 Savage. This album did receive a lot of backlash, and I think was disappointing in comparison to other 21 albums, but this is still a great time with a lot of fun tracks. Number 49, Excelsior by Benny the Butcher. 7-track project right here. Very brief, to the point, with a major standout being Duffel Bag Hottie's Revenge featuring Boldy James. By the way, I wanted to mention that in this top 50, there's going to be a kind of a segmenting of the albums. So the first section we're going through right now is the good albums. So with that being said, 48 is going to be 13 Months of Sunshine by Amine. Definitely a little bit disappointing in comparison to past projects like Limbo. I've really been waiting for another high-quality album from him, and nonetheless, this was still a super enjoyable and vibrant album. In terms of number 47, Chicago native G Herbo with his album Lil Herb. G Herbo, the type of rapper who is just always going to give you consistently good projects, and I feel like especially with Lil Herb, he's tapping a lot into not just rapping about the streets, but rapping about the trauma he has suffered from the streets, and I think he's taken a lot more mature perspective on this album compared to earlier projects in his career. Moving on, we got 46, Pinball 2 by Mike and Tony Seltzer. The first Pinball was a very fun project. Same thing here. You're just getting light trap-style beats with Mike's kind of slurred, monotone delivery on some good flows. Super fun time with this one. Number 45 is going to be Tyler, the Creator's Don't Tap the Glass. This was, again, another project that I had some fun with. Standout tracks like the major hit Sugar on My Tongue and Big Poe, as well, are some of my favorites here. Number 44, going to be Glockavelli by Key Glock. One of the best trap albums of the year, and I love the super inspired productions that Key Glock uses on this album. I think it is really his greatest strength as a rapper, is his ability to bring in versatile samples on his production and flow over them effortlessly. Number 43 is going to be the tape from Reason, I Love You Again. Yes, TDE's Reason really came through. By the way, you guys, like the spiffy dress for such an occasion, got a little button up on. Number 42, Am I the Drama by Cardi B. This album is a little bit bloated, which keeps it lower on the list, but you got major bangers on here like Airtime, Magnet, as well as a plethora of other tracks that I love to revisit, and you get a great dichotomy from Cardi here of her making a lot of fun turn-up music, but also being able to get vulnerable about her relationship with Offset and how it ended. Very mature tracks on here as well. Number 41, Everything Is a Lot by Wale. Definitely a little bit of a late year contender here. Very vibey album, very heavily R&B influenced, a lot of singing from Wale, bouncy instrumentals. Super light listen with songs that you could come back to that just get stuck in your head. And now number 40, this is technically a deluxe album, but I wanted to count it because I did really enjoy this album. The Mutt Heel Deluxe from Leon Thomas, just because Leon Thomas has had such a great run from 2024 till now with the viral success he's succeeding, as well as the high quality of R&B music he's been putting out. And Mutt Heel is a super fun project, and Prize, I would say, is my favorite song here. Rounding out the good section, at 39, we have Lonely at the Top by Joey Badass. I really wanted to like this album a lot more. If you've been following me on Instagram or Echo, you've probably seen my discussion on this really fluctuate, where after first listen, I was ready to claim this as Joey's best album since All American Badass. But very much cope on my part. When I really think about this album, it's good. There are some moments here. You get some fun rapping like Swank White, Dark Aura, Super Flea, but I really haven't gone back to this much. But still a good album nonetheless. But now we're moving on to the great tier right here. Moving on to 38, Live, Love, Laugh by Earl Sweatshirt. Earl is a poet on this album and is really giving you very high-level raps, but the kind of monotonous flows, not very captivating instrumentals, and just lack of replay value, for me personally, overall, holds us back from being higher, despite the not even just great lyricism, but the absolute poetry that Earl displays here. Number 37, Acts 2, Pats of Nobility by Jay Electronica. Jay Electronica came through with a couple projects out of nowhere this year, this being my favorite. You're just getting overall high-level Jay Elec raps, has a one-of-a-kind lyricism, and anytime we get that, gonna be a great project nonetheless. Number 36, 12 by West Side Gun. First of multiple West Side Gun placements on this list. He truly was one of the MVPs of 2025, and 055 off of 12 has been one of my favorite tracks all year long. 35, another Griselda rapper here. We got Trainspotting, the collaboration album from Rome Streetz and Conductor Williams. Again, another situation where as long as Rome is on the track rapping, he's one of the best rappers, best lyricists in the game right now, so I will always enjoy an album like that, even if I did find Conductor Williams' production style on this project to not necessarily be my favorite match. Moving on to 34, Free by Kid Cudi. I was really happy with the quality of this album. Kid Cudi, on an all-time scale, one of my favorite artists. He's been so, for like 7 or 8 years. And I think a lot of people wrote him off and didn't want to give him the time of day with this album. But Free is truly great. It's concise, and it has Cudi's best blend ever of like rock and punk rock aesthetics with his brand of hip-hop. And you're also getting a reformed mindset from Cudi, rapping a lot about moving on from some of the things that held him back. That's very clear on the outro, where he does talk about, how he has matured from when he was younger and the different point of views he's adapted. Number 33, I got Chica's new project, A Brief Album, Wish You Were There. And this is a 7-song project that really reads as one long song. It's a very enjoyable listen, and Chica is one of the best lyricists in the game as well. Her flow is impressive. And overall, this is a quick spin. I would recommend it if you haven't heard it. 32, we got our first slot from The Alchemist as he joins alongside Larry June and 2 Chainz for one of the most concise and really just unexpected collabs of the year. This is an album that has consistently been in my rotation since it came out in terms of Life is Beautiful. I really enjoy this project, and I would not be mad to get a Life is Beautiful too. Number 31, I got Balloonerism by Mac Miller. I know a lot of people are really hailing this as one of the best of the year. I will say, not the most replay value for me. Beautiful posthumous album, but another thing holding it back is this album has been floating around online for years. I probably heard Balloonerism for the first time in like 2019, maybe. So this wasn't necessarily a new album for me, but I still wanted to place it on here nonetheless. Number 30, we got A Futuristic Summer by Metro Boomin. When it comes to what encapsulates a great album, as I've talked about the different tiers within my top 50 list, this is just the one right here that just defines what great is. Even if the lyricism is not the best, Metro just did what he set out to do. He wanted to make a fun, vibey, throwback Atlanta album for where he's from, celebrating where he's from. Everyone's talking about how this is the year that regional rap has returned, and this is one of the defining projects of that. You get standout performances from new Atlanta rappers like Baby's on here, but you also get a bunch of throwback trap rappers as well, whether that be Young Dro, Schoolie, Roscoe Dash, Waka Flocka, and it's really just a fun listen overall. Favorite track is easily I Want It All or Butterflies. And yeah, salute to Metro on this one. I think this album deserved a little more love. Number 29, we got Late to My Own Funeral by Boldy James. Another Griselda album here, by the way, fully produced by Nick Craven. These two are electric when they work together. And yeah, just another quality release from Boldy's catalog. Not his most stunning album that I've heard from him, but I did enjoy this one this year. Number 28, we're sticking with the Griselda. Heels Have Eyes 3. You had some great moments on this track list, like I believe Gus Smacker with Tom Sos was on this one. Oh, one of my favorite tracks of the year. And you were just getting really competent West Side Gun rapping. A lot of people, myself included, kind of expected Gun to fall off as he's been doing his thing with the Fourth Rope and the Heels Have Eyes and the whole wrestling promotion he's been doing, but this has been probably his best year overall of releasing music. The last couple years, to be honest, I really enjoyed Heels Has Eyes 1 as well. I enjoyed what else came out this year. I had 12 on the list already. We'll talk about another one later. And he dropped a new EP recently about his Saucony shoes, which was also just awesome. So big shouts to West Side Gun, Heels Have Eyes 3. Awesome album. But that brings us to number 27. Everything in My Soul is Blue, another Reason album. Reason is another like sleeper rapper who had a really, really good 2025. This is, again, another shorter project, also has a really good deluxe, and I think we'll put this over his other album that came out this year and a lot of albums this year is the quality of the production. You have some great sample chops on here, and Reason's ability to flow, really underrated. So yeah, had a great time with this one as well. Number 26, we got our first album from the Legend Has It series that we're going to talk about. If you are unaware, the Legend Has It series is about 6 albums that, I forget if it was 6 or 7, but a series of albums that Nas released through his Mass Appeal label, working with older 90s rappers to produce great albums where he was taking more of an executive production role, featuring and helping these albums get promoted, get released, and do well. And that first one we're talking about is going to be Supreme Clientele 2 by Ghostface Killah. This album did not need the Supreme Clientele 2 title, but overall, it just doesn't have that type of replay value for me. Replay value very important for me in terms of what I think is the best, what hits the hardest for me. But I love this album nonetheless. Now, when it did come out that first month or two, it was in my rotation a lot. Georgie Porgy, great song. Metaphysics, great song as well. This is a great entry point to Ghostface Killah as well. If you are a little intimidated to get into the Wu members' discography, this is a great place to join because it translates his old sound to a modern style. Halfway through the list now, number 25, we are talking about New York native Lord Sko's album, Piff. Sko is not disappointed since he came onto the rap scene. So big shouts to him as well. I really enjoyed this project, and it has that great underground sound. And Sko does a great job of balancing like boom bap New York traditional productions with more abstract productions, and he raps excellently over both of them. I was very happy to see him finally collab with Mavi, another underground legend, on this one as well. So moving on to 24, we are still in the great tier, but it is important to keep in mind that this is like the higher end of the great tier. These next run of albums that I considered for my top 10, albums that are bordering on being amazing, and even some later on that I would say are above a 8 out of 10 rating wise. But yeah, as we continue on with the great tier in my top 50 albums of 2025 list, moving on to 24, we got Harlem's Finest, Return of the King, another Mass Appeal record. This is a big this is a big L posthumous release from this year, and I gotta say, I really do love this one. Another one where I don't know if there's necessarily fat to be trimmed, but it's just that I don't think this is a bad posthumous release, but you could definitely tell some of these tracks were definitely just loose freestyles. Not that they aren't great, but that does hurt the quality of the album, that there's not a whole bunch of concise songs. But for this collection of songs, it is really, really great. And again, Nas did a great by Big L, did great by his legacy, and I'm very happy to get a new Big L album in 2025. Love this one. Number 23, Son of Spurgie by Daniel Caesar. This is features some of Caesar's like best and most impressive vocal performances. It has more of it has more core themes around he's a very love-centric guy, of course, as an R&B singer, but his relationship with God, his relationship with his father, as well as he raps a lot about his own maturity on this record and the ways he's trying to grow as a person. So I really enjoyed a lot of songs here, pretty much everyone. And my favorite, I would say, is Have a Baby with Me. Again, shout out to my smoking hot girlfriend. Number 22, Starline by Chance the Rapper. This is one that, for a lot of reasons, I really wanted to have higher. One, this was in rotation for me a lot throughout the year. Two, especially tracks like Drapetomania, The Ride with Do or Die, Starline intro, some of my favorites. Also has some of the best written and most important social commentary of the year when we're talking about Letters, No More Old Men. We have great and very, again, mature tracks about him and his wife's relationship post their divorce. And there is, like, Chance is really firing on all cylinders at points on this album, but there is a run of tracks that just really don't do it for me, especially Gun in Your Purse, very weak moment from this year as a whole. Yeah, got a new chain that said Fuck Ice. Number 21, Magic Alive by McKinley Dixon. This is another album receiving a lot of praise this year, and it's very well deserved. The live instrumentation throughout this record is awesome. The rapping is great. One that didn't stick through my rotation as much, which I think, again, keeps it outside of the top 20, but is nonetheless in a great, fringing on amazing album. Now we got number 20. This one for me is another entry from The Alchemist and his collab album, his follow-up album to Alfredo with Freddie Gibbs. We're talking about Alfredo 2 here. The Alchemist production is awesome here. The soundscapes are more vibrant than ever, which I love. Freddie Gibbs is pulling out flows I've never heard from him before, which is awesome. This is a logical evolution from Alfredo. Big thing that holds this album back for me is the lyricism. Freddie is he's a really horny guy. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, and obviously there's a lot of fucking and rap songs and a lot of all that type of stuff, but to hear it's just to a new level, and there's not a lot of like personal content, which is what made an album like Alfredo, like Soul Sold Separately, and even You Only Die Once really stand out for me personally as a Freddie Gibbs fan. So now when we're talking about this album, which really is just about the the main central theme is just Freddie fucking, and it does hold it back for me a little bit in that sense. But moving on to number 19, we got Lotus from Little Sims. Overall, awesome album where, again, Sims is rapping about ways she's grown as a person. She's rapping about the fallout with her old producer Inflow, and the production on this album is still good, even though she's working with new collaborators. Honestly, not as good as Simbi's production, but very few albums in history can match that. But yeah, it's very cool to hear her side of these stories, rapping about abusive relationships. I wish the track Young wasn't on here. This sounds like it's imitating like 80s like underground British punk rock, and it is kind of gross to listen to. It makes me a little gross when I'm listening to it, But moving on to 18 now. This was kind of the finale for the Legend Has It series. Light Years, Nas and DJ Premier's long-awaited collab album. So this, everyone's been waiting for this. I think Professor Sky's record review, he said it the best when he said that Nas kind of spoiled this album on the first track, saying it's a classic before you even heard it, because this didn't really meet my expectations. I was kind of expecting this to be a top 5 lock just based on the pedigree of Nas and DJ Premier. Now, it's not that this album was bad. Again, we're still talking about a great album, fringing on amazing, an 8 out of 10 album for me personally. I had a lot of fun with it. It just didn't live up to, honestly, a couple of the albums from the Nas and Hit Boy run, but still had an awesome time with it, and you got a lot of standout tracks here. As well as one thing I really appreciate about this album is the way that it pays tribute to hip-hop as a whole, when he has tracks rapping about all the woman MCs in the rap game. He has tracks talking about the essentials of hip-hop that aren't talked about a lot, like graffiti and b-boying, and kind of shining a light and giving respect to hip-hop as a whole, as an art form, as a culture throughout this album. And I think that is just awesome, and I really respect Nas and DJ Premier for doing that. Number 17, this is one I heard recently, The Unreasonable Truth by Ransom and Conductor Williams. Conductor killed it, absolutely killed it on the production for this one. I know I said he wasn't firing on all cylinders on the Rome Streets record. This 8-track album is absolutely beautiful instrumentation. Ransom is killing it lyrically. Again, another rapper who, when he's rapping, and to be honest, I don't always tap into Ransom. I don't. But when I do, I'm always just amazed about his storytelling, the vivid imagery he uses, and the way he's able to flow while using such complex lyrics and doing such high-level rapping. So definitely recommend this one if you haven't heard it as well. Number 16, we got The Alchemist again and his collab album with Hit Boy. Now, The Alchemist is actually rapping on this album, and so is Hit Boy. And these guys, I've known this for a couple years, but these guys are barred up. Genuinely, these guys are barred up. The production is on point, and this album is just consistent. There's no lull, there's no weak point, and every song is just awesome, and you're getting great perspectives from Hit Boy and from The Alchemist as people who have been producing for over 20 years who are now stepping into the rapping portion of the rap game. So I love that, and it was an awesome album from 2025. Moving on to top 15. We're in the top 15 now, still in that great to amazing tier. I got The Pilot by Mavi. More mixtape styled release from Mavi, where it's shorter, not like a whole bunch of overarching themes going through like he normally does on Let the Sun Talk, Laughing So Hard It Hurts. But you got some great collabs here, like him and Smino's track Potluck that I really liked, and very light production. And Mavi is more so just flexing his rapping ability here, and he is one of the best rappers in the game right now. So moving on to number 14, the last album I have in this tier, Where's My Head by Rich Brian. This album is just about amazing. It really is. You're getting a life update from Rich Brian, who hasn't released a full-length project in years, absolute years. In terms of a full-length album, we're talking about The Sailor, 2019. So this is just a life update from him, and I kind of like that style that he has, where with every album, every project he does kind of does feel like a life update where he's at, and he's trying out all these different styles. Rich Brian is a very skilled rapper, and yeah, Jelly Air Island, my favorite song on this album, because it like is the outro, and it kind of does what the whole album does. It really just sums up the album, which is summing up where he's at his life and where he's been for the last couple of years. Last to list here, last card right here. There's 2 tiers left, though, but let's kick in to the amazing tier. Let's move on to 13. You Can't Kill God with Bullets, Conway the Machine. Easily his best album since God Don't Make Mistakes. This is his first real heavy-hitting album for me in a couple of years. I know he's had albums in between now and then. They just haven't resonated with me like this one has. The production is super on point, very polished boom-bap beats, and you're getting a good variety of, like, very personal tracks, gangsta tracks, and he does a great mix of doing that street talk, but talking about the dangers of that street life and the trauma he's facing today from it. Number 12, legend has it again, Cabin in the Sky by De La Soul. R.I.P. to Trugoy the Dove, another partially posthumous release here, and the soundscape here is just excellently curated. You could feel even Dave's personality as well as the rest of De La Soul's personality just shining through like they do. And this was just a fun listen through and through. Number 11, we got my most played album of the year. And I'm honestly surprised I have it this high considering how long it is. We're talking about Music by Playboi Carti. With Music, this is just like, this album's bloated. Yeah, there's some tracks that aren't good. But honestly, there's like 8 to 10 just like near perfect bangers. The experimentation on this album, I love. Carti's giving you a lot of different vibes, and this is like in tandem with my number 1 album, or the 2 defining albums for 2025 in my opinion. It is just the lack of lyricism and the bloat in the album that keeps it outside of the top 10. But moving on to the top 10, Heels Have Eyes 2 by Westside Gunn. Truth be told, I think this is his best album since And Then You Pray For Me. And I know a lot of people don't like And Then You Pray For Me that much, so if that's the case, then it's his best album since Pray For Paris. Just concise, every track hits. Every track is pretty much like a 9 out of 10. And Westside's doing some of his best rapping in years, great production, and Stove God Cooks and Brother Tom Sos really show out on this project, are part of the reason that it's so special. Moving on to number 9, Chicago, great right here. We're talking about From the Private Collection of No ID and Saba by No ID and Saba, of course. This one is just another record that was a super fun listen. You're getting all types of different productions from No ID, whether he's in his trap bag or he's doing his classic soul chops, and Saba just eats up every production. He is a very, very skilled rapper. I don't think a lot of people realize just the ability that Saba has, not just with his pen game, because he is also an awesome lyricist, but his breath control, nuts. His ability to switch his flow back and forth and back, nuts. And he is able to hit all of these different production styles and make unique songs with them. Number 8, we're talking about Stardust by Danny Brown. Danny Brown really got out of his comfort zone here. So we kind of get this more like glitch pop influence. I don't know. Honestly, to be honest, I don't know. But whenever you classify Fentanyl, the Frost Children, all these type of artists as Jane Remover as well, you get a lot of excellent features. You get Danny Brown's signature rapping style. You get a lot of, again, that growth rap that we got from him on Quaranta, like on the intro, the Book of Daniel. But you're getting Danny really just push the boundaries of what hip-hop can be, and hats off to that. You got to salute that every time. Big ups to Danny. He's really been an MVP of the 2020s so far with the run he's been on from, you know what I'm saying, Scaring the Hoes, Quaranta, and now Stardust. Man is just stacking that discography. Number 7, Mass Appeal again. It is another Alchemist appearance as well. We're talking about Infinite, posthumous Mobb Deep album, of course. Rest in power, Prodigy, one of the greatest to ever do it. Produced by Havoc and The Alchemist. This album feels very intentional. It feels like Prodigy is still here with us on this record. It feels like he is rapping from the grave at points with the lyrics he is dropping, and it's super insightful, super mature. You're still getting, some more gangsta talk. You're still getting some going to the club talk at points, but Prodigy and Have both just absolutely kill it lyrically and rapping wise. You're getting one of the grittiest and dirtiest soundscapes for a Mobb Deep album that you have ever gotten, and that's saying something. That is saying something. But the underground vibes here are nuts. And as a big Mobb Deep fan, I was absolutely floored with this album. Again, thank you to Nas for making this happen. My 2025 MVP, no doubt. But number 6, we're moving on to an album that I thankfully re-listened to literally last night. If I had not, it would not be in this position. If we're being honest, it would not be in this position. We're talking about The Good, the Bad, and the Dollar Menu by Ray Vaughn. Ray Vaughn had a big 2025 from his rap battles with Joey Badass to now dropping a really high quality mixtape early on in the year. I know a lot of people, again, shout out Professor Sky's record review, Justin Hunt, The Company Man, Read My Soul, all people who really have been waving the flag for Ray Vaughn, and it's rightfully so. Upon revisiting this album, it is rightfully so. I mean, genuinely, this album is one of the most vulnerable albums when it comes to Ray Vaughn really rapping about stuff he's been through in his life, his relationship with his mother, his relationship with his friends, and the type of stuff that he's had to go through. Holy crap. I mean, seriously, this might be one of the most vulnerable releases of the year, but Ray Vaughn is also such an energetic MC. He is flipping all over different type of instrumentals, constantly changing his flows, his delivery styles, and it's just a super enthralling and trancing album. Moving on to number 5 right now. 5, this may surprise some people. This is my last entry that I have on the list from the Legend Has It series. I have not seen other people praising this album like I've been, and I gotta say, shame on you. Big shouts to Raekwon with The Emperor's New Clothes. I feel like Raekwon's one of the Wu members where a lot of people slander his solo discography, and I'm like, what are we talking about between Only Built for Cuban Links 1 and 2? Also now adding this into The Emperor's New Clothes. This is like a perfect transition of boom bap rap from the 90s to now, because you're still getting that street talk with that luxury talk from Raekwon. The one-of-a-kind rapping style and punchlines is all here, but it's over very polished instrumentals that sound modern despite being a throwback to the type of sound that Ray grew up rapping on. And that's really all it is. This album is just very concise, super enjoyable front to back, and really made for one of my favorite moments of the year. Now we get the Mount Rushmore and the last album in the amazing tier. Big ups to the UK again, who has really been killing it just as a whole since, again, like about 2019, between Little Sims, between Slow Tie, between a lot of people are shouting out Jim Legacy. I did not like his album this year. I'll come out and say it, not for me. But at number 4, Dave. We got Dave's album, The Boy Who Played the Harp. Are we serious? Dave has a very clear formula that he does, and it just works, where he takes an album, we got like 10 to 12 tracks. You put a couple, like 1 to 2, like mainstream appealing, maybe more like drill styled bangers. Then you get a couple of tracks that normally feature like an R&B singer and have maybe more like a dance hall styled instrumental and is a little more like rhythmic and bouncy that are super fun. And then you also get a handful of tracks that is like the most intense storytelling you've heard in a rap song in your whole life, and the most reflective and the most honest and the most vulnerable songwriting that you've heard in your whole life. And like Dave is really the type of rapper who he don't really even need a beat. Like the beats on this album, they're there. The production's like fine, but like what you're really there for is Dave, because his presence is like it commands your attention. His delivery is on point, and he just always has something to say, not a line of filler on this album. And it's really special. We kind of see Dave like struggling with his positioning in the world as a person in general, let alone as a successful rap star on this project. And he's just really taken you into his psyche for this one. Absolutely loved this project. That's why it's the start of my Mount Rushmore. Now for me, this top three, they're in a category of their own. I think these are many people's top three albums. I think I did a podcast with my boy Dan over at True Love Entertainment, talking about our top 10 albums of the year. And I told him before, I said, listen, this year for me is like you got a clear-cut top 3 or 4 albums that are like no doubt the best. And then like that number 5 slot to about number 20 are all pretty close in quality. You know, there's not a big gap between those albums. But with that being said, to kick off this top 3, also be sure you tune in to Dan's stuff. Make sure you tune into the podcast. I'll probably link that down in the description as well. It'll be on the YouTube, so definitely tap in. But number 3, How to Do It to Him. JID, GDLU, God Does Like Ugly. This is an album that really grew on me over time. After the first time I heard it, I was honestly a little disappointed. But the more I listened to it, the more I sat with it. I really see what Jid is going for. And it's maybe a little more loose thematically than The Forever Story, which is one of the best albums of the 2020s. But it focuses on similar themes. It has similar motifs in it. And maybe with spirituality, faith being more of a common theme in this one, his relationship with his brother who is in and out of prison being another strong point in this album. There's also a lot of sonic versatility here where you get some of Jid's best singing performances ever on tracks like Wholeheartedly, on tracks like What We On. You got honestly one of the best feature lists of the year, I would say, between Don Toliver, Meribah, Vince Staples, just a whole great cast. Earth Gang's here, of course, as well, that accompanies Jid on this album. The production is awesome, and this last tier, this tier that the top 3 are in, is future classics, and God Does Like Ugly is trending that way for me so far, because the more time I spend with it, just the more impressed I am with everything Jid did here, especially on a track like Community. Number 2, if you're following along at home, you know what this is. Hurry Up Tomorrow by The Weeknd. The most cinematic album of the year. The most cinematic album we've had just in general in a long time is The Weeknd is really detailing to you like the death of his alter ego and the steps you're going through to get there. Maybe a little bit of a longer album. Maybe an album that I don't find a lot of the songs on my playlist constantly, but one that when I listen to it, I'm enamored. I listen all the way through, and it doesn't drag at all. An album I'm truly impressed with upon every listen. The Weeknd's world building here is awesome. His lyricism, songwriting, storytelling might be better than ever. Maybe not songwriting, but the lyrics themselves, the storytelling, world building, is on a different level here. So many great moments here, like Reflections Laughing, Welcome to the Show, Niagara Falls. I mean, really special album from The Weeknd, and if it is truly his last under this moniker, he is going out like a rock star. Big salutes to The Weeknd for capping off this awesome trilogy so well. Number 1, there was really only one thing it could be. There was only one thing that it could really be. The album that I was so excited for when it came out, that I loved so much that I rushed onto the website to buy the vinyl t-shirt bundle. And I accidentally bought the CD t-shirt bundle. But nonetheless, I love it. This album, technically, I've listened to a lot more than music, but also, like, in terms of the album that I spent more time listening to, it kind of was music, but, like, music is 30 songs, and, like, God's Talking About is 13, so in total, I've spun the album way more than music. But music just has more tracks. I don't know if I have much to add to the Let God Sort 'Em Out discourse that hasn't really been said already, if that makes sense. Like, this album is perfect. The production is perfect. The rapping, get this, It's perfect. Malice and Pusha T are both probably the two best rappers of the year. It feels like they are competing every bar, every lyric to outdo each other, to outshine each other. And then the way Pharrell just made the way the soundscape, like, you could tell it's a Clips album, but it's not like stuck in the past at all. It's actually a very modern sounding album, very unique stylistically from anything else in the rap game. I mean, this is a one of a kind album. And I always use this to contextualize my feelings about this album. Since I seriously started listening to hip hop as it released frequently in 2018, this is the best album since then that I've heard, and I knew that from the first listen. After the first time I heard it, I said, "Wow, this might be a top 20 album of all time. This might be a top 10 album of all time." And 6 months later, that opinion hasn't changed. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. A little bit of a lengthy list here, but please let me know in the comments below, what's your favorite album of the year? What's your favorite album of the year besides Let God Sort 'Em Out? Because I think, again, that's most people's, and it deservedly so. This is a cultural moment. But yeah, let me know. I really appreciate y'all tuning in today. I hope you have a blessed 2026. And I look forward to hopefully getting some more content out to you guys this year. Definitely, like I said before, hit me up on the gram, Echo, Letterboxd, all this stuff. Especially if you just want to chop it up about some music. Let me know some content ideas, stuff you want me in particular to talk about. It's not like I have a whole bunch of viewers, so I'm very willing to accommodate stuff that people want to hear me talk about. But yeah, thank you guys for a great 2025, for tuning in. And I, again, just appreciate you so much. Love y'all.